So I watched Hawaii's an American Saga Chapter One. Now I wasn't really excited for this movie. Like the trailers just didn't really do anything for me when it comes to this movie. And I love Western movies, and I think Kevin Costner is a great actor. And I haven't seen any of the stuff he directed before this. I'm not too familiar with him as a director. But when we start with the positives with this movie, it's a well shot movie. Directing wise, it's the cinematography looks great in this movie. There's a lot of nice shots in this movie, and it has a good cast. It has a great cast. But I have a lot of issues with this movie. The first negative with this movie is that it feels like a setup movie, and I have no problem with that. But when you feel like a setup movie, and I'm gonna get into like one of the other issues I have with this movie is that this feels like a setup movie for like a mini series with TV show, and I know he has like 4 chapters he wants to do of these movies. Like I know chapter 2 was supposed to come out in August, and that got pulled from its release date. I don't think they're gonna make chapter 3 or 4 based on how this first chapter did. But this really felt like this should have been a mini series of TV shows. I've never said that about a movie, but it really felt like this with this movie. The way it's the way he's setting up all these storylines and characters really felt like a pilot for a mini series or TV show. Another negative thing with this movie is that there was so many characters and so many storylines in this movie that it just feels like a mess to me. It feels like a jumbled mess. Like it feels like Kevin Costner had like 10 to 20 different ideas for a movie, and it just feels like it's just so all over the place with story and characters. Like it's cut between all these different story and characters that are in different places. Like none of the characters ever meet in this movie. And one of the issues I have with this movie is that as a setup movie, okay, it's fine for like maybe the first half hour to like not have it connect, but by the end of the movie, none of these storylines connect, none of these characters meet each other, so it just feels like a bunch of ideas thrown into a movie. And the actors, like, they do a good job of what they're given, but I never cared about the characters because you don't spend enough time with any of these characters. And this movie's 3 hours. I've never had this experience, but this feels like a movie that's missing stuff and also feels too long at the same time. Like, there's a plot line with Sam Warrington's character, with a love story he has with this girl who loses her son and her husband earlier in the movie, and it feels like there's a middle piece missing there. Where I was like, when you get together, and I was like, am I missing something here? It didn't feel earned to me. It just felt like, okay, I guess that happened. And I just, like I said, I never cared about the characters because you don't spend enough time with them. And when it comes to Mickey Roka, he's doing like an Iowa accent. I personally think he sounds really bad in the movie. Like, I just, like, that's just more of a nitpick, but I was like, okay, he really can't do, like, him trying to do an Irish accent just didn't work for me in this movie. But the cast do a good job, like I said, what they're given. It's just, this movie just feels so much like too much of a setup movie. You can have a setup movie, like Doom Part 1. That's obviously the first part of a story. But I cared about the characters by the end of the movie. It felt like it had a clear narrative and a story it was building up to. This movie doesn't feel like it has a clear narrative at all. Like I can't even tell you what the plot of Hawaii's an American Saga Chapter One is, and I found myself kind of bored most of the times too. So this was a movie that, and they do a little trailer at the end of the movie, which I know was released in theaters too when the movie came out, where it's just a montage of like stuff shown in Chapter Two. And then when I watched the trailer for that, I was like, we watched the movie and you have all these you have this at the end where you have these clips from chapter 2 showing you stuff from the next movie. I'm just like, I felt no excitement because you didn't make, like, I don't know what this movie was supposed to be about. And like I said, the characters are located in different places in this movie that they never meet each other, and none of these storylines feel like none of these storylines even connect at the end of the movie. So, like I said, it feels like a bunch of random plot lines going on. And even when I watched the trailer for this chapter 2, still it still looks like it's just gonna be the same thing as chapter 1 to me, where it's just like, are these characters ever gonna connect at some point, or is this gonna be, or is chapter 2 gonna be like this, where it's just like a bunch of plot lines going on in different places and and characters that we never see meet each other. And look, like I said, you can have that for like maybe the first half hour, but by that, if you're gonna have like a 3 hour movie and you're gonna make it a setup movie, at some point you need to actually start connecting these characters and storylines that have a clear narrative in this movie. Because, like I said, at least you can't tell you what the plot is about with this movie. Because there's like 10 different plot lines with different characters going on. And another negative I have with this movie is that Kevin Costner doesn't show up until like an hour into the movie. Like, I don't understand. Like, he was on the post side memo for the movie where it made it seem like he's supposed to be the lead of the movie, but he doesn't show up until like an hour into the movie. So I don't really understand that choice. There's just some like choices with the way this movie's executed that aren't very good. Like, I can see why the critics tore this movie apart with like it has like a 40-something% on Rotten Tomatoes. I can see why. This movie just feels like a jumbled a movie that's full of like a different ideas, and it just none of it feels like it connects. None of it feels like there's a clear narrative that you're following from beginning, middle, and end. So overall, I just did not enjoy Hawaii's American Saga Chapter One. I feel like this is like a really, to me, one of the bad Western movies, and it just, yeah, I have no excitement for Chapter Two personally. And look, if you enjoyed this movie, you loved it, I think that's fantastic. I'm jealous of you, but this movie just, I felt like just did not work, and so why I just didn't find it a very good movie. So that's my thoughts on Why is an American Saga Chapter One.